I was asked to discuss, so we're doing it in English. So I hope everybody is familiar. Please interrupt me and raise your issues, your questions at any time. So I was asked to create a theme topic on how to scale your business. So the question is, do I scale or do I remain small? And if I scale, how do I do it? Is it alone or together? And what might be, some ways of moving forward? You might have seen this picture. I use it in my classes on social entrepreneurship for years now. So if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. It's an African proverb that is quite popular. What we're going to discuss today and why this question matters, especially for sustainable SMEs, growth is not a straight line, it's a strategic choice. Should I remain focused and excellent? Should I grow through products or markets? Should I integrate, diversify, or internationalize? Should I scale through alliances instead of alone? These are some of the questions that we will discuss today. If you don't understand some of the terminology, because it draws from my lectures on strategy and on MBAs, please just ask me. So we will discuss about strategic scaling choices. Then we will try to have a round table and some exercise. First of all, scale versus only size. We are in the sustainability world. We know that volume is the biggest enemy of our times. So you cannot act on sustainability if you don't act on volume. So on the other hand, it's all about growth. So how do you scale? And it might be interesting to discuss about the concepts of degrowth or slow growth. And I would love to hear also what you think about that. First of all, you can scale through revenue. That is new markets, new program, products, stronger pricing. You could choose to scale through capacity. So increase your production, build up your logistics, suppliers, and through digital tools. You could scale your impact though. We're talking about environmental, possibly environmental fashion and textile enterprises. So you could scale through your impact, either that being employment, scale through inclusion, social value, or through your circular practices. So this may not increase your revenue, but it might increase your impact. Scale through influence. So you might be centered on policy, on community, on standards, on movement building. That could also be strategic growth strategy, that I want to increase my influence on the community, on paradigms, on, yes, to be an influence. And then scale through resilience. How do I become less dependent? How do I share resources? How do I adopt what we call adaptive strategies? And we can see later on. There's also another, I don't know if you have heard about non-disruptive creation. So there's this book that I bought about 2 years ago when I was in New York, and it's called Beyond Disruption. It's the book of two professors from INSEAD Business School, who are the authors of the Blue Ocean Strategy, if you have heard about it. And then they created this approach of non-disruptive creation. So how do I grow without creating social pain? Because we talk about disruption, and everybody says, let's disrupt, let's grow. The last 5 years, it's been all about aggressive disruption. And it's like disruption is a good thing, but it might be a disaster. Disruption might mean that you leave people without. It's an aggressive move towards communities, towards industries and sectors, towards people that are already in employment. So the whole idea of non-disruptive creation, and it's an innovation strategy that allows for economic growth. I'm sharing my notes from a working paper I've been working the last 2 years from my research also in fabrics and other programs, is an innovation strategy that allows for economic growth without disruption or displacement of existing economies, markets, and jobs, without causing social pain, under a positive sum thinking. So how can I create growth for everyone involved? That's the question. Where business and society progress harmoniously. Non-disruptive creation by Professor Kim and Mobor from NSAT Business School. It emphasizes innovation through creating entirely new markets, new opportunities, or solutions without displacing existing industries, jobs, or services. So that's an approach that it's a little bit disruptively non-disruptive. So let's continue from this slide. So the strategic choice: do I remain small? Do I grow big? Do I do alone or together? And an interesting matrix here. If you could just see the slide and place yourself. So where are you? Are you small and alone? Is it craft excellence? Your core competence is quality premium? Are you alone but want to grow bigger? So are you through internal growth, trying to develop new products and new markets? Are you collaborating, going together, but small still? So are you community depth, like a local movement or a beneficiary value? Grow bigger and together, it refers to network scaling, alliances, platform collaboration. The decision questions here is, what performance gap am I solving? What is my key strategic issue? I don't know if this is the way that you think, through strategic issues. If you're forming strategic issues, that's a good exercise to write down the key strategic issues that you want to address. Which path protects my mission? Which path reduces risk without killing flexibility? These are some of the strategic questions to ask yourselves, and then you see in which box do you fit. The classic growth options, and if you've studied business, you might be very much aware of that. So this is, I don't know if you're aware of Ansof's matrix, another matrix with 4 positions. So how do we grow? What does strategy tell us? We grow through concentration. That is, in the existing market, with the existing product, I focus there and I try to become very, very good at what I do. This is concentration strategy. You can grow through market penetration. So bigger share for existing products. So I penetrate in my market. I add new age target groups. Product development. So I try to grow by creating new products within the market where I sit right now. And what is a market? A market can be characterized by age, by locality and territory, by habits, by social class and revenue, consumer behavior. So you can, if you are already very clear on what is your market, you can create new products for them. And that is new product development. Then it's all about new market development. So how do I grow with the existing product in new markets? Let's say that my target group is 40 plus. So how do I enter the 30s? How do I enter the 20s in my existing region? Or how do I grow to other markets in regions next to me? How do I grow to other consumer behavior markets. So to other people from other spending capacity, from other lifestyle. These are also different markets. And then it's diversification. We have two different types of diversification, related and unrelated. I don't know if you're familiar with diversification. So diversification is when I create complete new products for new markets. And related, it's when it's, so let's say that I have a gym and now I want to start creating yoga outfit and garment. This is a related diversification. So it is a new business, but it is within what I'm already doing. Unrelated diversification is to go and do something completely different, go in the food industry. Or if I am in fashion, unrelated diversification would be to go into products, into something else that's completely unrelated. Then we have vertical and horizontal and international integration. You might have heard also of this terminology. What is a vertical integration? It's when you replace your suppliers or your customers. So when you grow on your supply chain. So I do manufacturing and I suddenly open up my own store. That is vertical. I do manufacturing and suddenly I want to create my own material. That's vertical. Horizontal integration is when you move horizontally in the same activity that you are already active by adding more categories. And then international integration, you know. When staying small is not a failure. So why you can stay small and that's okay, and that can be a very decent strategic choice. So concentration can be a conscious strategy. The organization becomes very good at what it does. Managers know the industry and competitors well. The business develops unique resources and core competencies, a focused business plan, protect quality, trust, and mission. So it's quality over scale. The risk, it's the vulnerability to industry and external shifts. So if something happens to your industry, you're really in trouble because you're concentrated. When growing bigger and when it helps and when it hurts. So possible benefits when you try to grow. Economies of scales and economies of learning. This in economics is, you might know it if you've been through economics. It's when cost drops. So the more you do something, you learn how to do it. And when you scale on something, again, prices, your cost drops because you can buy more quantity, for example, and you can negotiate your prices. Economies of scope through shared resources, market access and stronger negotiation power, better coordination across supply chain stages. But then you reduce flexibility, integration difficulties, financial burdens, increased exit barriers, vulnerability to external shocks. So key principle from scaling notes, if integration is too heavy, consider long-term contracts, strategic alliances, and short-term contracts or value-adding partnerships and networks. Before scaling, test your core competence. So that's a very interesting notion. What is your core competence? Obviously, you don't do everything great. Where are you good at? This is the core competence. And your competitive advantage should lie with your core competence. And sometimes it's best if you focus only on that. So if you try to do lots of things like I do, you might end up losing a lot of money and time here and there. It's more wise to focus on your core competence. Can it give access to several markets? Does it contribute significantly to customer benefits? Is it difficult for others to acquire or copy? Evrio logic, does it have value? Is it scarce? Is it complex to copy? Does it have an embedded is it embedded technologically and culturally on my organization? So your core competence could be also to scale from the truth of your value. Where exactly are you good at? A core competence is not something that exists in abundance or something that others can see very easily and copy. And definitely a core competence is not your suppliers. And that is why releasing information about tier 1 and tier 2, it doesn't matter. So having a digital product passport, it doesn't matter. You don't lose your core competence. For sustainable SMEs, growth must protect the mission. The recent years, I focused my work, so the recent years, the last 10 years, 12 years, I focused my training, my lecturing on social innovation. And what is social innovation? Social innovation is innovation that offers a social or environmental impact. When you take, when it's people, planet, and profit, do something that matters, create something that makes the difference. What change do you want to see in the world? What role will you play in that change? Will this path increase impact or dilute it? That's a growth question. For if you are a social entrepreneur or an environmental or entrepreneur, and I suspect that you are. How do I move into setting up my social innovation? First of all, I identify the social issue or environmental issue. Usually it's both. Usually an environmental and social entrepreneur has both environment and people in his mind. So identify the social issue. Identify the target population of beneficiaries, not talking about target groups, about customers. We're talking here about beneficiaries. Who is going to benefit from your service or product? Define the desired impact and theory of change. So you need to have a theory of change, not just a business model. What is the desired impact? What is the change that you want to bring to your beneficiaries? If they would take up on your product or your service, how would the social issue or environmental issue that affects them change? And it doesn't have to be extremely scalable. It could be very focused. Then you come and you mobilize resources. So this is the moment after you've done that to start mobilizing resources. And you know that the resources are both tangible and intangible. It's networks, it's people, it's information, it's technology, but it is also tangible. Create local employment, types of social innovation. It could be to create local employment, a package of service or products, and a local movement, equally important. Together, alliances as a scaling strategy. I will not get very much into that because it's quite technical, but the way to grow if you are a social entrepreneur, and this was actually my PhD thesis, so I researched how social enterprises grow, interfirm alliances for social entrepreneurs, and I was the first to investigate what is called social franchising and micro franchising. So a third way between market transactions and a hierarchy. Market transaction is when you go out and buy the resource that you're missing. Hierarchy is when you build it internally through management, through employment. And then in the middle is various types of interfirm alliances. Joint ventures, networks. Networks is the biggest utopia, let's say, in alliances. If you actually manage to be in a network or create a network, is the strongest alliance you could form. Mutual dependence, separate identity, exchange, sharing, and co-development, some of the elements that are important to consider. Why this matters for SME? You manage to pool resources, tap onto existing technologies, gain market access, transfer knowledge, share risk of innovation, and scale social impact and collective impact. The Kempf model is my research, my recent research, the quantum embedded network format. So how do we scale as an embedded network? Circular SMEs do not act as isolated particles. That is why I'm using some terminology from quantum physics into the study of circular supply chains and circular businesses. So there are five terms, five elements that I'm borrowing. Uncertainty. So plan with multiple possible outcomes. We all know that there is uncertainty. We act under uncertainty. So you should be able to plan with possible outcomes. Superposition. So you hold parallel strategies at the same time. You might do swapping and rental. You might do collect back and sale. You might do resell and secondhand and also new. You might do cycling, but you might also create collections from new material. You might source and use plant-based material, and you might also use recycled fiber and fabric. You might, like what I'm building now for the sneaker factory, you might use 3D knitting, but you also might use conventional cut and sewing. So superposition. You need to hold at the same time different strategies until you decide. Entanglement. Recognize the ripple effects across partners. So you're entangled with others, not only in alliances, but also in collaborations in your communities, especially in circular and in circular supply chains and in local environments, in urban manufacturing, in ecosystems of industry symbiosis. You're entangled, and you should know that. So a change that happens, it also happens to the whole system changes. And that is also how tunneling can happen. So tunneling is to find unconventional routes around barriers. I will give you an example. Smartphones, they are used all over the world. Refugees were entering in Greece with smartphones. So how did smartphones manage to surpass barriers and steps in these communities, in third world country communities? This is tunneling. The change didn't happen gradually. Not everything changed in their markets and in their economies or in their culture, but there was a tunneling, and smartphones were there. And the observer effect, that's also a very important way of, let's say, the quantum thinking. So how do we change behavior? Only by measuring it. And this is also something that is used in fabrics and other platforms through self-assessment. Trust brokers, formal policy, informal norms, and adaptive strategy. I will also present a couple of things and then go on to the exercise. So creativity with purpose and creative responsibility, circular business models, circular supply chains, circular design and production, and then I will have a practical exercise for us to work on. So how do we grow within the circular ecosystem? Do we grow through creativity, through our business models, in our supply chains, through design and manufacturing? Does what we create justify what we destroy? Something to ask ourselves. So creativity with purpose. Growth must justify impact. Start scaling from purpose, not from volume. Embed sustainable thinking from the concept. Measure success differently. Look at growth in a more holistic, realistic, and healthy way. Move from apathy to active solution building. Move away from extracting towards borrowing, from using towards transforming, from discarding towards returning. A scaling question: can your growth model keep products, material, people, and trust in circulation? So you might have skills and you might have access to technologies, but if you don't have the proper mindset, nothing can happen. You might have the best sailing boat, and it might have might have been trained and get your sailing diploma, and you might have an amazing technology inside the sailing boat, and then you're at the store. What is your mindset? Do you know how to navigate, or are you afraid? So the mindset, as the biggest theorists discuss nowadays, is the most important element. And this is where you start. What is your mindset as an entrepreneur? Circularity is also extremely important. You might know, and that's why the European Commission right now is investing its resources on second-hand markets. So this is what Fashion Revolution used to say. We said 6 years ago, 7 years, that only 1% of what is recycled, it's actually reused. Now this is raised. We are about 12% right now. And we are recycling we're saying that we're recycling more than 65%, but yet only about 10% is recycled. Why? And what can we do? This is the focus now. You do not have to be big to have a big impact. Small brands can create real change. Slower, smaller, and more spontaneous model can be strategic. Growth can mean deeper impact, not only more units. The question is, what place does your business occupy in the ecosystem? What do you need most right now to grow without losing your purpose? This is something to write down and consider. If we had more time, or I would ask you to do this exercise. What do you need most right now to grow without losing your purpose? Circular economy, the 3 grounding principles: eliminate waste and pollution, circulate products and material, regenerate nature, regenerative economy. You know, that's the new thing. Fashion Revolution France keeps saying about that. It's all about regenerative economy. And SOFFA from the beginning had the stance on regeneration for the environment, not harming the environment. Key enabling factors, another thing to consider. What are your key enabling factors, apart from your core competencies? Circular design, multi-stakeholder collaboration, economic conditions for scaling up. Sustainability and circularity do not always match. So you have to consider which trade-off could become dangerous if your business becomes bigger too quickly. Scaling sometimes is very dangerous for your social impact. So we see social entrepreneurs, when they scale, they lose their morale, they lose their ethics, therefore they forget what they were in business for. So environmental and social trade-offs, operational trade-offs, economic trade-offs, quality trade-offs. Another thing, no one is 100% sustainable. So be honest. In your mission and vision, tell us what your sustainability goal is. Is it water? Is it microplastics? Is it waste? Is it inclusion? Choose one. Is it craftsmanship and cultural heritage? Is it upcycling? So choose one and then grow on that. Don't try to do everything, because it cannot happen. And you will just lose lots of money. Why companies invest in circularity? To manage supply risk, to manage price volatility, to manage supply chain disruption, to increase sustainability quotient. Being compliant with regulation, achieve cost savings, increase innovation, and answering consumer demand. So there are benefits. Top obstacles: cost, the technology that's available, infrastructure, external cultural obstacles, law and regulatory obstacles, competencies and internal inertia. Top advantages: brand reputation, user loyalty, new opportunities, new jobs, cost reductions. We're working at this month. We have an intern from from France, from Université of Nantes, who is working on research for the sneakers, the sustainable sneaker nearshore manufacturing that we're trying to open up. We're researching specific target groups all over the world, specific, of course, locations. And you will see that sustainability and ethical considerations are extremely important. Of course, nobody will buy you or your service or your product just because of that. You need to have aesthetics, you need to have a story, but they will not buy you if you don't have that more and more. 6 activities of circular fashion supply chain, decisions on sourcing, design and manufacturing, distribution and sales, communication and engagement, use, care and disposal, recycle and upcycle. So 6 different value chain decisions, 5 different business models, sustainable inputs, life extension, end of life, sharing, product as a service. These are different business models. You can choose one to grow. Translate the model into concrete activities. What activity can you implement alone and which requires a partner to do? Sustainable inputs, life extension, end of life. We're talking about end waste like right now, end of life of waste. Product as a service like rental, subscription, leasing. Traceability and transparency create value for many stakeholders. And it's going to be, as you may have heard also by Dima, I don't know if you already did this webinar, 2027, all countries must have an extended producer's responsibility legal framework. I'm part of the design of this framework here in Greece from a small group of that is designing this for the ministry, and also the standardization of the process for recycling of the textile. And that is different per country. So it's also something that it will apply for big companies, and by 2030, it will be something that everybody should do. And digital product passport goes with that. Circular supply chains, here is a framework I created some years ago. It's the linear and how through X's become circular. Conventional supply chain often suffer from high safety stocks, poor customer service level, poor capacity utilization, poor demand, high cost and low interfirm trust. Reduce stages, build long-term supplier relationship, use smart production lines, use generic trims and materials, digitalize where needed. Linear versus circular fashion manufacturing, rethink, redesign, repair, slow fashion. Mending and repair is extremely important for Fashion Revolution. Also, we have mending days the past 2 years. Circular design strategies before scaling production. 8 ways of manufacturing, where you can also source if you're using waste. Defects. So I was talking with the Fashion Revolution in Uganda, and they're very strong in using defects. So there is a big waste from the factories that they don't pass the quality control. Overproduction, waiting time, non-utilized talent, transportation, inventory cost, motion, excessive processing. Which digital process reduces waste without increasing complexity? Do not scale what is undocumented. So first, check before scaling. Check if you can scale. Do you have digital patterns? Do you have certifications? Have you checked your suppliers for social certification? Do you have environmental certifications? The European Commission Green Claim Directive is telling us that 56 of all certifications are a lie. They are telling us that about 60 to 70% of what brands say is a lie. Do you publish, and can you publish product and raw material manufacturers? Do you have a whistleblowing process? You can find ours on SOFFA website. Sustainability responsibility appointed. Do you have someone that is responsible for that and having their name if someone wants to report something? What if your manufacturing had to scale? Use stress test before committing to growth. I'm very much into implementing AI and robotics. The last 3 months, we also built a very big project on AI factories in Europe for manufacturing. So I'm very much positive about this, about the factory of the future to scale through AI and robotics and 3D, of course, 3D knitting, regenerative design beyond less bad. Zero waste design, questions before scaling a style. A small pattern decision becomes a large waste decision when production grows. So you need to consider, are you 95% coverage? Break, okay, so this is the activity to reflect on. I think, yeah, we have 20 minutes, so we're okay. So let me, I have a couple of things that we could work on. So for 10 minutes to discuss what circular business model fits your next step, what is the main obstacle to overcome, which stakeholder must be involved, how could Fabric's platform help you find them? So if you can tell us, if you can think about that and tell us 1 minute, what do you need and what can you offer in the network?